we go?
We got Brain and Heart. Melanie Martinez.
See what they go. See where she goes.
I think she actually prefers they.
Oh, Melanie?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know?
I think I saw it somewhere. One of her comments.
Let's see.
Help me when I'm at a loss for words. Bring up all my memories, full of pleas in the temporal low. False loving when I was illogical. Didn't know they held each other's hand as they made one whole. Brainstem yells temperature, arise now. Sweat being drops down my silky flesh, buttering up my consciousness. Quick now. Ability to sleep sound throughout the star times an illusion. If you just remove it. When did humans start to separate brain and heart as if they couldn't stay alive alone? Flip it around the other way. If they were apart and you had no power, start or no database.
Oh my gosh. If you had my heart and I gave you.
Oh, that's the...
That's why I was like, yo, this sounds so familiar. Jennifer Lopez. If You Had My Love.
Yes, I remember that. Hold on, let's start it yet. I want to...
I love the approach of this song so much. She's going through the processes of like the minute that she thinks about something and then like her central nervous system and just like the process of the signals like going through like her she mentioned something about like her flesh. So it's very scientific.
Yeah, that's
The
actually
lyrics.
why I had to pull up the lyrics because I don't remember.
Brainstem yields temperature, arise now, sweat.
Alive alone, flip it around the other way. If they were apart and you had no power, start or no database. Only a shell remains. What fun is it to be so calculated or be taken advantage of? 'Cause your heart's too trusting, silent, expressed. Push my hand to my chest, bind them up forever wet. Don't drift too far, they said. Help me when I'm too detached and cold. Give me the vitality that I need to trust love more. Blood to the water, neither can fuel us alone. Fervency in my arteries, passion blooming through my bones. Heartstrings trigger emotions, dreams, agape loves, a journey. Red rivers connect all of me. But be it steadfast, don't you disappoint me. Sometimes I think you're all I need. Wise beyond belief. When did humans start to separate brain and heart as if they couldn't stay alive alone? Flip it around the other way. If they were apart and you had no power, start or no database. Only a shell remains. What fun is it to be so calculated or be taken advantage of? 'Cause your heart's too trusting, silent, expressed. Push my hand to my chest, bind them up forever wet. Don't drift too far, they said.
Hey, blind and look forever wet.
What's interesting is if you look at the songwriters, Jennifer Lopez is one of them. But it's a really interesting song because I think at least what she means by it, or how I interpret it, is like sometimes we're so calculated, and I think a part of it has to do with science and like the denigration of religion, where we've become so practical and everything is so actualistic. If it's not right in front of you, it's hard to conceptualize. And she's a person that you can tell by her videos that she loves mythology and fairy tales and stories. So even though it's not real in the sense of like the world not being real, there are some truths in these stories, and it's why we like stories so much. And that separation from brain and heart and I think beliefs kind of changes the way we see things, or at least changes the way we fantasize about life, because it's so unimaginative as opposed to when we're kids, right? Like when we're kids, we live not in complete fantasy, but we live in a world where our perception of the world is so fantasized and interesting, and we're so curious, and we kind of lose that curiosity as we begin to learn a little more. And I think we tend to think we know more than what we really do, because there's a lot we don't know. And I think that's where she's getting at, or I'm completely disillusioned.
That aligns with the message that I got too. Just how sometimes what we want conflicts with what we think we should have. And so that goes to show how like the brain and heart sometimes are not aligned. And it happens all the time. It made me think about in the Love is Blind reunion, one of the women, the reason why she said no was because her emotions and what she wanted, she couldn't connect it with what she thought was right or what she thought she should have had or have. And so because basically her two brains, or her brain and her heart, couldn't connect, she said no because she just didn't feel right. And kind of like what Melanie Martinez says, like, how did we get to the point where these things are so separated? And I can't help but think that it's because of society. It's because of our environment. Like, things that we want, yes, it is impacted from our environment, but I also think that there's a lot of I think there's like so much more to it, right? So like as we get older, we are always gonna fight between what we want and what other people want for us, or what we think we should have. I constantly deal with that all the time. So it's tough.
Yeah, it's really tough to go against the grain. And even like her one line, don't drift too far, they said, which indicates exactly what you said. It's what people are telling her, and she's fighting against that.
Yeah. I wonder if they meant like her career, like her approach to music or her lyrics, or maybe even love.
Yeah, because it's hard enough that we all have self-doubt, but it's even harder when you have self-doubt and the people outside of you are also saying like what you're doing is wrong, and they're also doubting you. You know, because not only are you fighting the internal battle, but then you actually have the external people that are encouraging you to conform.
Yeah, it's weird to think about how we as a society have become so concerned about what other people want for us. Like I think about like, how did that even start? This idea that like someone else is gonna have power over my life. Like, how did that start? You ever think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it before. I think when you're looking at things on a macro level and you look at things as a whole, you're thinking about the best way for people to live where the system is good, where we're trying to create a system where everyone can contribute, everyone can be economically and financially stable and productive. And a part of that is going through this route that we created, right? The institutions like school, the banks, and obviously that leads to a whole nother conversation, but we go through this traditional route of this is how you become successful. You go to school, you open a bank account, you invest in A, B, and C, and this is the way you get a job, and then you get married, and obviously you have a mix of traditional beliefs that gets thrown in there and political ideologies. But I think it's definitely the safest bet. Like, you think of school, it's designed to be passable. Life is not designed to be passable. If you want to open up your own business, it's not designed for you to be successful, as opposed to school. School is the safest route you can take because it's designed to be passable, so you can move on to the next level. And obviously there are rewards for that, not just for you, but for the system, because you're paying a system to fund that, right? So there's schools involved, there's governments involved in that. So like any artistic route's very hard, because for every one artist that becomes successful, you maybe have 1,000 to 10,000 people that are unsuccessful. So it's really difficult. Same thing with being a writer, right? Like some of these artistic routes and these athletic routes, very, very, very small percentage of people make it. So you have one success story, but then there's a whole nother realm of failure stories that never make it. So I think it's finding a combination of like having some stability so you're not completely shot or homeless if you don't make it, but at the same time you're still trying to go for what you really want. And it's just hard to balance that. But she's obviously really talented, so she made it work.
Mm-hmm.